Hi, my name is Rich Schmidt. I'm here with JBJr Jr. It's August 1st, 2018. And Jerry, we're going to start you off by asking, why acting? What got you into acting?
Yeah, I moved here to Portland about 12 years ago. I was living down in Arizona at the time, and I was dating this girl whose friend worked for a casting agency here. And whenever we'd meet up with them, she'd be like, hey, you should come out and do some acting. You have a good look. And I'm like, what? What does that mean? I'm still trying to figure out what that means, what good look means. But I wasn't interested because I've watched the audition process, and it's very judgmental and subjective. And I didn't want to be in front of people being scrutinized and judged, so I wasn't interested in it. And one weekend, she came to me. They were shooting a Toyota commercial, and the guy they hired from LA got sick and couldn't come up, and they wanted a big dark-skinned guy to show off their truck to see, just the space the truck has. Mm-hmm. And so she told me how much he was gonna get paid, and it's just for a weekend. I was like, I'll do it. I'll go try it, And so, after being like an hour late on set, because I was really nonchalant about it, right? It was just more like, okay, I'm going to be on screen, and I showed up, and the girl runs out. She's like, Jerry Bell's here. I was like, whoa, and I got in, and they sat me down in the makeup chair, and the makeup artist was really nice, and they were like, hey, what do you want? Anything you want to eat? And she even massaged my scalp, the scalp of my head, right? So I enjoyed being on set, meeting new people. I mean, because I was an engineer before, and I'm used to being in the labs and kind of being isolated from everybody, and I'm more of an extrovert. So being able to meet new people, be at a new location. We were like on the river, on the Willamette, and they had this big boat hooked up to the Toyota truck, and it was just the experience, being places I'd never be if I wasn't doing it, and meeting new people, and being pampered. I felt like a baby Denzel. Yeah, it was a really good experience, and I was, I said I want to do a little bit more of this, and my second job was on that level too, which is unheard of when you start off as an actor. I came in as a principal for that Toyota commercial. Mm-hmm. Then they were shooting a movie called Management here with Steve Zahn and Jennifer Aniston. They brought me on as a featured extra, paid me a lot of money to shoot on set for 2 days. I had fun, and that's when I decided, hey, this is what I want to do. And so I started doing background acting, background. And but that was a lot of work. I didn't like that at all. Decided to take some acting classes, and when I got an agent. And the rest is history.
So at what point did you decide, like, this is what I want to do? I want to do this, or I want to get into entertainment as for good?
Excuse me. Well, it was kind of like an epiphany for me. I took some time off for work. I took some stress leave actually from work. I was working real hard as an engineer, and during the summer, I went to the coast, hung out for a week. Then I ended up going to the Dominican Republic, hung out there, and I just started, just evaluating my life. And I'm like, hey, I'm not getting any younger. So I decided that, so I realized I'm not getting any younger. So I decided to go and pursue it. I didn't want to look back 10 years from that day and say I didn't try. Sure. And the window of time was kind of getting close for me, because I was 38 at the time.
So was there, you talk about kind of the background, not enjoying that as much. How did you get back into the kind of more towards the spotlight? How did you get more towards the things you wanted to do in front of the camera?
When I tried to get an agent, she shot me down. She gave me the monologue. I didn't really know what a monologue was, and I got up and, I recited it proud, loudly, very clear. But then, she was like, hey, you have a good look. She said, we can use you. Go study improv for a little while and come back, for about 3 months and come back. So I went and studied improv, and I fell in love with improv. And I ended up doing improv for about 2 years. And then I realized, okay, I want to get back to scripted work. And then I started back getting on script.
Sure.
And and once I got going with that, I realized how much I really enjoyed it. So.
You mentioned that you came from engineering background. How did that come about? Why did you want to be an engineer?
Well, it was like pressure of growing up. I grew up in a real rough neighborhood in Atlanta, and I had the opportunity to go live with my dad. He was in the military, and he was in the Army, so he traveled quite a bit. And I got a chance to travel, be around diverse people. And when I graduated high school, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. Ended up going in the Air Force into engineering, EE, electronics engineering. So I worked on radar equipment in the Air Force, and I worked on satellite equipment. So the path just kind of laid itself, you know. It was all about the money. It had nothing to do with passion. It was like, hey, what job can you get that's gonna make a lot of money? And it was electronics or computers at the time. And so I went where the money was. But I never saw all that money though. I never got all that money. So I ended up, going to the military. I studied, went and got my bachelor's and master's degrees. Came to work for Intel. That's what moved me out to Portland, being originally from Atlanta, Georgia. And I just kept on trucking. And before I left my job, I was actually a project manager at Intel, negotiating contracts.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what was it like? What were your first impressions of Portland and the area when you got here?
There wasn't any diversity. I mean, we're talking like 1998. So when I came here, there was like not hardly any people of color, and it rained a lot. So those were the two big impressions that stood out just off the back. And then so the lack of diversity and the rain, the weather got to me pretty bad. But I thought it was a beautiful place, and a very beautiful place. 45 minutes, you're at the coast in the mountain terrain. I really enjoyed it. It reminded me, I graduated high school in Germany, so it reminded me of my years in Germany. And in Germany they had the gray skies and everything too.
Sure. So once you get into the acting industry, what are some of the biggest challenges you're dealing with? What are some of the obstacles you have to overcome?
As an actor?
Yeah.
There's so many. It's a tough industry to get into. First you have to prove yourself. You have to. I don't think there's really a such thing as a natural. I know they say, hey, he's a natural. It's very rare if you are. And I underestimated when I come in, but I had to do a lot of training and study. And I did a lot of acting classes here in Portland from film acting teachers. I had to decide which route I wanted to focus on. I decided to go more film. You could do theatrical, you could do film work. I did a little bit of theatrical, and it's a lot of work. I have so much respect for people that do a lot of stage work, because it's a lot of work with a little bit of money. They don't pay much, and or you can go do a commercial, shoot for a day or half a day, 2 days tops, and make a lot of money, or royalties, etc. So.
What about your interest in working behind the camera? Where did that come from?
That come from working as an actor in the independent film community. So it's a lot of work. The challenges was actually being respected as an actor. Number one, as a black man, a big black man in the industry, you tend to get archetype, stereotype, in a sense. So you have to, in order to really be able to prove yourself, you got to be able to get up and give dialogue on camera and talk and speak and shift and become a character, so it's not easy. It's not easy doing that. The rest of it is more, to me, feels more political, because the way I feel, there's no limitations to what you can do. It all depends on, there's this invisible line or glass ceiling, so to speak, where you kind of held back because mostly everybody want to get in the industry. And if everybody came running, they can't accept everybody, so it's like a little system, informal, systematic process that goes on behind the camera. In front of the camera, as an actor. All right, and but doing that and working on these independent film projects and seeing some amazing projects, and usually, at the TV series level, the higher network type level, I worked on those projects. Then I came back to the indie film community, and I see that there's a lot of people that are extremely creative, but don't know how to manage. They don't know the business side of it. So to me, there's like and this engineering in me too that comes out. There's a lot of waste, making film on a film project, not planning ahead and So as an actor, I come on set and I sit all day to do one little scene. I'm like, why am I sitting here all day? It's like hurry up and wait. And then when I started really getting good at acting, I have directors that come out and they try to give me direction on how to play a character that, as an actor, that I actually got to study the script and I got a good feel for the character. And some of the directors, they all operate differently. Don't trust what the actor brings to the table. In this community, one of the directors, there's a couple directors that come in. If you're trying to tell me how to be a black man from the South, then I'm gonna have a problem with that if I don't think the direction you go in is gonna work. Because I grew up down south. I grew up in Atlanta. So if you're a white guy from Southeast Portland and you've never been anywhere but in Portland, except for a weekend trip somewhere, then it's challenging for me to have to follow your direction. So that made me want to get out and start doing my own creative work.
So what were the kind of lessons you took with you when you were starting to direct? What were some of the things you kept in your head in terms of, I don't want to do that to these people, or I definitely want to remember how to do this? Like, what were you thinking about? I
was thinking that, if you take the time and cast the right people, if you cast in talent, then you have to trust them a little bit more. And so when I do film, it's like, hey, let me see what you have to bring to the table first. It's not, I don't go in with a lot of direction. I like to have a conversation about the character a little bit, but I pretty much let the talent get out there and lay down the groundwork, and then I make some adjustments.
Sure. So you've won a number of awards, including just recently a Willamette Week's Best Actor in Portland award. You won a Best Director award. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What does it mean? What does that mean to you?
I feel validated, justified, appreciated. I put a lot of work into what I'm doing, and it feels good when when people start to acknowledge that, and it brings value. Besides, because a lot of actors feel like, a lot of people in the industry feel like if you do a one-up thing, you can get lucky sometimes, right? But if I'm on a continuous path, then it makes me feel really good and proud of the work I'm doing. It makes me want to keep giving and keep going,
Sure. Have you noticed opportunities coming to you because of recognition like this?
Well, yeah. So from the director side, which is an award I got a couple years ago, I've had a lot of people reach out about their film and bringing me into their film and directing and help producing their film. As an actor, I just got the award last week, or 2 weeks ago. So, there's a couple people who actually kind of reached out to me very recently about different roles and parts, but I haven't really seen the butter of it all yet. I was actually this article came out today on Willamette Weekly about me directing, just as an actor and directing Red, White, and Black. It actually came out today. I haven't seen it, but it's online. I glimpsed at it a little bit.
Cool.
Yeah,
we'll check it out. So it's all kind of happening right now.
Yeah, I'm really in the thick of, like, in the eye of the storm in a sense locally. As you can call it local celebrity or whatever, but I feel like a local celebrity. I know I'm acknowledged nationally from commercial work and stuff like that, but my hub is here. This is my community, and so I feel loved and acknowledged really being here in Portland. And people are starting to reach out. I was just on the radio Sunday night on 107.5 talking about my path. I've had a few corporations reach out to me to do some public inspirational, motivational speaking. So I'm on that path now, and so I'm just kind of, I'm just feeling my way through. And it feels like it's it's not even uphill anymore. I feel like it's like I reached a peak in a sense, and things are kind of getting a little bit easier for me. And so I hope it continues that way.
Sure. So you talk about kind of commercial success and recognition. I think for a lot of people, you're kind of known as the Swiffer Dad still, even after all the other things you've done. Yeah. So what's that like, being known for and having people kind of recognize you vaguely from something like that?
Yeah, it's amazing. It blew me away actually. When that commercial came to town, so they did a national search for a single dad. That right there alone says a lot, right? Yeah. They decided, hey, you and your son, we want you in this commercial.
Yeah.
you know, to shoot the commercial, and they didn't tell anybody what was going on. My agent didn't know, the casting directors didn't know. No one knew what it was. We just knew it was a cleaning product. And the process was they brought me in, and I remember when I went in, I was like, I was kind of in a bad mood that day too. I was tired, and I got there, and I was thinking it was gonna be more than an exclusive kind of audition. But I walk in the room, it's like 30 guys there. I'm like, oh God, you know. But anyway, I get in, and they just asking me questions about my life, being a single dad, and cleaning up behind my son, you know. And a week later, I got a call like, hey, they want to see you again. They want you to bring your son in too. And so I took little Jerry in, and we got in front of the camera, and he was really shy. I remember he kept hiding behind me the whole time, and they kept trying to talk to him, and I was like, oh God, we're not gonna get this right. When I left, I was surprised they called me back, and then they asked if they could send a photographer out to my house. And so they brought in a photographer. He just followed us around all day. And then they Skyped me at my house. They wanted to see my floors and all this stuff, right? So I said, okay, now we're in the cleaning process. But I felt good about it. Like, hey, I hope I get this job, because it's like, you know, it's a long process. I've never seen a project like, you know. We booked it, but the most amazing thing to me is to, you know, I have found a new passion, and have my son be a part of it. You know, it's like, it don't get any better than that. I think that kind of commercial, what they call a grade A national, is one of the best commercial jobs you can get as an actor, right? But, you know, being able to bring your child into it, and let the world see. I mean, they did as real as you can do it. They didn't tell me about, I didn't know what it was until I opened the door on the doorbell, ding dong. I didn't know what it was. I kept asking, are you guys gonna tell us, like, in time? You know, but yeah, it's amazing because that commercial's real. You know, it's my son and I in our day-to-day life, you know, and then to be acknowledged in not just, you know, it was overwhelming at first when we travel and people see us together and autographs. My son was overwhelmed a little bit, but when people started writing me, especially, you know, poor families that the father's not there, you know, for whatever reasons, incarcerated or men not stepping up as a father, and the people that are reaching out to me with sincerity, what touched me the most. It's what touched me the most. So I had a fan base of ladies that are at home with their kids by themselves, and their husband's not there, and they thought it was very inspiring, and that's the best feedback I got from it all, you know.
How did
to be loved across the country? Sure, you know,
and recognized and loved.
And recognized and loved, yeah.
How did little Jerry eventually enjoy the process, or was it kind of overwhelming for him throughout?
He was a master. Actually, I was feeding off him. Seriously, it's like, I think he was 4 at the time, so at that age you don't care. It's like whatever. I was worried about all the direction they was giving him. It's like, hey, run in the room, grab the cup off the counter, turn it a little bit, like a quarter of a turn, to allow some of the juice to spill on the floor, then yell, Dad, you know. And at 4 years old, he was just knocking it out the park, man. He go get the cup, spill, Dad, you know. I was like, he's actually the star of that commercial, by the way. Yeah, it ain't about me.
Does he still have interest? Is he thinking about acting as well? Is he still doing it?
You know, it's very interesting. He didn't like it at first. Well, at first he liked it, and then he got this. I think he went through a shy phase. We were going to auditions or whatever, and he just kind of got tired of that. And then just over this past year, he's expressed doing more. So we've been doing auditions. He's doing a lot of modeling and stuff here around town, and we're about to launch a YouTube channel.
Oh, nice.
For him, a little YouTube show, which is going to fall up under, I don't know if you ever heard of The Hunting of the Sunshine Girls, but it's a huge YouTube channel. They got like 500,000 subscribers. And the lady that runs that channel, they actually work with Disney too. The little girl who's on that show, the star, she's got like 3 books written based off of her YouTube show that started off. But we're going to fall up under their umbrella.
Nice.
And launch this show pretty soon. So.
That's exciting.
So he wants to get back into it. He's excited about it, about getting the show going.
Someday you could be directing him in something.
He's gonna be the star. I'm gonna be in it. So
nice. So you talked about we talked about that sort of the increase in opportunities as a result of some of the recognition you're getting. So how are you working on in terms of what to say yes to? How is your process in terms of not doing too much and kind of figuring the projects you want to do?
You know, at first I wouldn't turn down anything. You know, it was, as an actor starting off, it's like you try to get experience in front of the camera. So people come to me with all kinds of crap. Good stuff too, but mostly crap. And I'd be like, yes, sure. You know, it's taking up a lot of my time and a lot of my family time too. But, sorry. What's happened to me now is that I have so much coming in, so I have to prioritize. And then there's been projects that I say, hey, I think I'll do it, and very recently I'm starting to really hone in and focus on what I'm passionate about, and that's where I'm at now. It's like, I've started a couple projects and I realized like, okay, I don't want to put the time into this, I want to focus on this. This is a message I want to get out. So the Red, White, and Black documentary took 3 years to make. From concept to finish. From the first day I sat down with Bertoni and talked about, his life as a winemaker. It took us 3 years to completely get it done, completed. And that, documentaries take time. It's a lot of research, a lot of work. And that was my first documentary, and it was a good learning experience for me. So I'm like, I'll put my energy into something like that, my time, then it's got to be something meaningful. So, and that's what it is. I have to sleep on it sometimes. Like, do I really want to tell this story?
Sure.
And so I've actually had the opportunity to do another wine documentary on Black winemakers nationally, right? And it's going to be called Journey Between the Vines. And so I'm passionate about that. I've become passionate about wine, which is cool, especially minorities in wine. I'm passionate about that. And then, and the film I won the Best Director Award for was, it's kind of like a part of it was before the Me Too movement, but, about a lady being a rape victim and her survival techniques or whatever. And to me, it was meaningful, and that's the kind of stuff I look for now.
Sure. So let's talk about Red, White, and Black. Talk about how you first got introduced to Bertoni and the very idea of the project at all.
Yeah, so I met Bertoni when he was working at Sake One as a host. It's the only sake place, I think, in the Northwest, Pacific Northwest. So I was a member of the sake place, and I go there, he'd be there, and we kind of exchange words here and there. But as I got on my path of producing film, he reached out to me. I think in his mind he was like, I want to share my story, talk about the challenges I've had to face in the wine industry, and so he came to me about it. We sat and had lunch, and he's like, hey man, I know it's a long shot. And I think he was thinking I was going to be like, no, it's a bad idea, but I thought it was an amazing idea, And I said, hey, let's do it. And so I was kind of feeling it out too, like how to proceed, because I'm talking about industry I've never even tapped into. But the good thing is, I was what they call a global sourcing manager at Intel, where I negotiated contracts, big dollar contracts for businesses. Businesses I don't even know anything about. I had to go in and learn to do the marketing research, learn the business, know where to go to get what we needed, like facial recognition software. IT service stuff, very highly technical stuff. So I'm like, well, I can go learn film. It's like, and it is technical. The equipment's technical, but I feel like it was one of those things where I've been around more ambiguous environments and industries, going to learn it. So I didn't feel like film was really that difficult to learn. Sure. And during the whole process, though, it's like, besides the business and the engineering and the technical side of it, it's like that creativity starts to come out too at the same time.
Sure. So from Bertoni's your initial conversation, at what point did you decide you want to do the project? And then sort of at what point did the project take its ultimate shape and become not just Bertoni's story anymore?
Okay, can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
That's okay.
My brain is still kind of...
So you, from meeting with Bertoni the first time, at what point did you decide that the project was something you wanted to pursue? And then at what point did it become like the bigger project that it became, not just Bertoni's story anymore, but also the story of just minorities in the industry?
Right. You know, so when Bertoni came to me, we talked about it. I think I told him it was a good idea. He was very proactive. You know, he came back and, hey, what do you need? What do we need to get started and everything? And that kind of motivated me. You know, like, okay, well, he's serious about sharing the story. You know, and then and the more I started talking to him, the more I was like, yes, this is what I want to do. I want to help him share a story. You know, and during conversation, I knew how I wanted to shape it, and I kind of got ADD. I never been diagnosed, but I have a short attention span. I've watched a lot of documentaries on wine during the process, and you know, most of them fail to hold my attention. You know, like I respect the wine industry big time, but when you're just talking, when you look at 10 different documentaries, they're pretty much talking about the same thing, and it's pretty much the same thing. And I decided it was a great opportunity to go and give a different perspective on the industry as a whole. You know, not just focus on this is how you drink wine and this is how the grapes are grown and that kind of deal. I wanted to kind of focus on the industry as a whole, and it allowed me to do that.
Sure.
So yeah.
So what were your initial impressions of the Oregon wine industry as you started to learn about it? Well,
the initial, I was really excited at the fact that the Oregon wine industry is growing the way it is, and I'm excited that at some point in time, I believe Oregon's going to be #1 in the United States as a wine producer. You know, that's really exciting. Traveling, wine tasting, and the excitement from the people that are within the industry in these small towns outside of Portland, it's it's intriguing. So I'm really intrigued by that. Well, I'm not intrigued by the fact that there's hardly any diversity, and when you go out down to McMinnville, Dundee area, that's not what you're seeing. And the more I dug into the research, all I'm seeing are white faces.
Sure.
I was down there this past weekend and at one of the wineries, and there's a book about Oregon wine, and you flip through that book, all you see are white faces. All these rich people with a lot of land, that can do it. And so with that being said, it's like, hey, we have a totally different story here of people that are getting into the wine industry, and they have to approach it from a totally different angle. It's not land that was handed down to their parents and their grandparents. These are people that barely even have a quarter acre of land, maybe. And just being able to acquire that and doing it out of their backyards.
Sure.
They're going out buying grapes from other places and making the wine majority of the time. So that made me want to just get out there and tell the story even more.
Sure. So at what point did you bring in Jesus and Remy and Jared and Andre into the story? What point did it become more than Bertoni's story?
Right. I kind of got off track. So
no worries.
I was going on my ADD kind of deal.
I'll come back to it.
When I got Bertoni's story, and I seriously think that it's a documentary within itself. But I felt like, it would only do one culture of people any justice. Because I realized that there's only a handful of minority winemakers, period, and we can only find maybe one or two. But I wanted to share, the challenges of being in Oregon as a black man, a person of color, a woman, and then now people are becoming more cognizant of the LGBTQ community. So we talked about that. I was like, hey, let's make it where it can inspire more than just one base of people of color, or any minority. Let's make it a minority story. And Bertoni, he agreed with that, right? And that's when we started to push forward.
So as you were doing your research and as you were meeting the stars of your movie, what were some of the challenges that they were dealing with that maybe you weren't expecting, or maybe you were expecting? What were some of the things they talked about in terms of challenges they had to deal with?
Well, so I wasn't expecting anything. When we first started documenting, actually, we had one of the initial team members we had to let go because he came in trying to tell us how to do it. Like, that's scripted out, and I wanted it to be completely organic. I wanted to learn these people's stories, you know. What I learned is, like, all minorities kind of have the same challenges, some in different ways than others, but you know, this country's, a lot of it's like white, especially white male, and you're other. That's pretty much how it works. So white male and other. So women aren't on that same equity line. Anybody of color aren't. And then, you know, anything else is not on that level if you're not white male, period. And so I feel like everybody's challenges are similar in a lot of ways. It's more or less the background of how our ancestors got to where we are today. So I felt like it was important to be able to inspire different cultures, different minority groups, by identifying someone in each group that can come out and speak to their challenges.
Sure. What were your hopes for the sort of people's takeaway from the documentary? And now that it's been shown and you're starting to hear people's feedback, has that been the feedback you've been hoping for? Like, what was your goal?
You know, my goal was just to honestly, organically share these people's stories. You know, I wanted to capture exactly how they felt, you know, and then cultivate it and put it together in a film that would grab people's attention, you know, that people want to sit through and be able to sit and watch again. You know, so my goal was to attract an audience to be able to inspire them and educate them. A lot of people, since I've been here, there's a lot of people who don't know Oregon's history. A lot of people that don't. And I asked them, hey, do you understand why there's hardly any diversity here? And they don't know. You know, they don't know. And so I felt like it's important that, hey, let's educate the people on the history of Oregon, the Oregon Trail, the people that came here, what brought them here, you know, and what their mindset was, what their goal was for this white utopia they want to hear in Oregon. You know, why did they want to do that? And highlight them on, you know, the KKK, its involvement in the communities, etc. So it was an educational piece that it gave me an opportunity to throw that in, along with, this is why these people don't have 320 acres of land that was given to their grandparents, you know. And so it allowed me to do that, and the feedback that I'm getting it's been really good, really good feedback. The film has been, you know, accepted by the communities. I shot the film in a way where I didn't want to bash, I didn't want to be like, you know, shame on you white people, you know, anything like that. I wanted to be more of, hey, look, this is the history, this is where we're trying to go, let's all go together, let's move forward, let's learn what's going on, and then let's move forward. So it wasn't, I tried to attack the dark side first, early on in the film, and then it slowly lightens up, and then get more into, hey, what are their goals as winemakers, and what would they like to see, and, you know, what we all like to see in the community. So
you mentioned earlier from your commercial some of the feedback you got, like the letters and things you'd gotten in. Have you heard from people since the documentary came out about, hey, now I think I might want to get into the wine industry, or hey, this opened my eyes to something I didn't know about?
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I've had, you know, people approach me on the street and cry, you know, get teary-eyed, talking about, I didn't realize that, you know, Oregon was so brutal, and the Lash Law, they know anything about the Lash Law. I've had some kids that talk about going into a venture cultural program in school and say that the film has inspired them. I've been approached from different ways. There has been a little bit of, you know, kickback, you know, along the lines of one lady expressed her political concerns about the film. You know, there's a blurb in there about Trump, and we never mentioned the name, right? It's just more or less, you know, Remy is expressing that it feels like the climate has changed, like we've jumped 20 years back, you know, since this guy's come to office. And I put a quick picture of him, and so some people have a hard time with that, you know, but you know, and they're like, hey, don't you think you have a broader audience, or people will, you know, be more accepting to the film if you didn't do that? And I'm like, well, it's not about people being accepted to the film. It's about the facts, and that's why I didn't take it out. It's, you know, either they're gonna like it or they're not. Sure. You know, and hopefully we get a good majority of people that feel inspired and want to see it and want to get the true message. But I'm not gonna go and pull some important points out because your political view, right?
Sure. So I'm curious, now that you have the experience both as an actor and as a director, which one feels more personal to you? Which one feels like you're putting more of yourself out there to be judged?
That's a good question. I mean, because either way, when you're out in the public, you're being judged. So, as an actor, I feel like you're more. The director side is where I feel more judged because I'm expressing myself internally, creatively, from the inside primarily. As an actor, I'm acting. You know, it's not real. As a director, it's real. Depends on the content, right? But I feel like I'm putting myself more out there creatively and emotionally through the documentary. And the documentaries I'm doing, I'm exposing a lot of myself, where as an actor, I can go and pretend. So acting to me is more of a physical type of judgment. You know, hey, how's the guy look? Do he look good on camera? Will he look good with the couple? He's supposed to be the dad. You know, there's a lot of that going on, right? And then as a director, is you exposing yourself, you're sharing what people kind of get a feel for what's important to you, to your creativity. And so that makes I feel like it makes you a little bit more vulnerable.
So now that you have a closer relationship with the Oregon wine industry and you've come into contact with more people in it and you've all done the studying and research, what about your impressions of it have changed? What have you, as you've learned more, do you have a different impression as when you came in?
Well, I'll say that I didn't know much about wine when I started. You know, in the article it says, you know, in the article, I remember like one of the first interviews we had when the film came out. They were like, "What kind of wine you drink, right?" And but anyway, I used to drink like a lot of Riesling and Moscato. I like sweet wine, you know. And in the industry, I didn't understand like, what's the big deal? You know, you white, you shouldn't be a real wine drinker. You shouldn't want, sweet wine. I'm like all the time, I'm like, well, I like sweet wine. Like it's a wine, right? It's okay. It should be okay. But I developed a palate and a different taste for certain type of wines that really stands out. And then I'm not as intrigued by sweet wine anymore, you know. But just the exposure to the Oregon wine industry, the exposure is something I never would have paid attention to, right? I mean, I go to a winery for fun, and most of the time not like the wines I drink because I didn't really have the appreciation for what they put into it and the taste and what happens to my body, you know, when I drink. But I've been able to kind of cultivate and grow as a wine connoisseur in a sense. You know, so I can consider myself more of a connoisseur now. I have a broad spectrum of wines I like. That's done me some justice. Going to different wineries and meeting the people, and a lot of people acknowledged that I made the red, white, and black. I got so much wine in my place right now. I'm always getting wine. You go wine. There's benefits to being wine documentary director. There's a lot of benefits, and one is wine. Like you drink a lot of wine, and then my wine bottle. I got my own wine coming out.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's called the Director's Crush, and it's kind of inspired through the documentary, Red, White, and Black. That's why we got the label. So I designed this label, by the way. So basically, it's got a part of the poster from the wine documentary, but then it's set up like a film strip. And this is just a prototype. The actual bottles are going to be released September 15th. But it's called Director's Crush. It's a red blend. We chose to go with undefined, and the reason why is because through my learnings in the wine industry, and we were talking about in the film, we talk about how it had become a more of a highbrow culture. Hey, let's sit here and talk about the wines, and people get deep in depth in what they're drinking and whatnot, versus coming in with preconceived judgments too of what the wine is. So it's a conversation, we could have offline away from the initial start of this wine, because I want people to taste it and see how they feel and try to understand what it's about. I give more high level details on the wine. You know, it's very fruity on the nose. I mean, when you smell it, it's gonna smell like a very sweet wine. And then when you drink it, I put it more in the medium perspective. It took me a while to dial down to exactly what I wanted, but I didn't want it to be too dry. I didn't want it to be too sweet. So I found a zone like right there, perfect for me. So hopefully people kind of got the same taste buds I got, which I know they don't, right? It's very subjective. Then there's a little slate here at the bottom, just kind of remind you, hey, you know, it's based off a film director, and it's based off me, JBJr Jr. And then on the back label, it tells my story, and how we try to capture my life, you know, as a winemaker, not winemaker, as a filmmaker, my life in general, and as a filmmaker, and how we try to cultivate that and make it into this wine.
Sure. So
I'm really excited about it, and the feedback I've gotten has been really good. I took something back home to Atlanta to some of my folks, and you know, people who are heavy in the wine industry. Back at home, we don't have wineries in Georgia, but I want to get their perspective on it because I know most people down south like sweet wine. People I know, and they like it. They like it a lot. I will say, you know, it has for me, it has the air rate for about 5 minutes. Like, you can't just pop it open and start drinking. But when it aerates, because I did that once, I was like, oh man, I come up with this. But when it aerates, it's so amazing. It's so amazing.
So what was your role in the process of making it? I know you worked with Bertoni on it. So what, did you have full say over where the grapes are coming from and the whole process, or what was your role in that? Yeah, it was, hey, I mean, what do you like? What do you want? You know, we had those conversations, and we based it off of red wine, 2015. And I went through some of the wines, and I say, I like the way this tastes. You know, almost something similar. I wish it was a little different though, if it was sweeter. And then he come out with different wines because it's a blend, and say, how's this taste? How's this wine taste to you? And I do it, and then we mix it together. So I was heavy into the mixing process. Sure. It actually took me about a month to dial it down to exactly what I wanted. I was going back to the winery, tasting it. Okay, try this, try that. So what did you learn about the actual winemaking process at that point? Was there something that you didn't know about how wine was made, or at that point did you pretty much know and this was just kind of details? Yeah, by this time, we just pretty much finished this mix about a month and a half ago. But I've been working on a documentary for 3 years, and during which time, like, I was in the middle of harvest, capturing harvest, and I was a part of it. I was helping pick the grapes, carry the grapes, press the grapes. They're doing the mixing processes. So I've gone through the process like 2 years in a row. So I got that real training. Like, they put me to work out there in the field, like all hands on deck kind of deal, like camera, no camera, you know. So what was that like? What was it like learning the process? Did you enjoy it? Did you have a new appreciation for it? Was there? Oh yeah. I enjoyed the process. I mean, I'm not real big on all the labor. The labor part of picking grapes, you know, and carrying and dumping in buckets. But just watching it, you know, watching the process and being a part of it, got me into it, right? It's like, I feel like it might not be good wine, but I feel like I can go make wine in a way. I don't know if I make good wine though. You know, I need Bertoni's help for this. I need his help for this, but yeah, I respect the people that do it, you know, and a lot of patience. You know, farming is a lot of patience. And capturing that right moment to go pull the grapes. And I did learn that nature has a lot to do with everything, almost everything, to making wine, you know. 2015 Oregon was a great year. And that's what people get excited about when they see that on the bottles. I didn't know what that meant. Like, this is the 2014, you know, Malbec, you know, like. Before that, I was like, who cares? Like, is it good or is it not, you know? So throughout your process, what do you think about the future of Oregon wine from a diversity perspective? Will it become more diverse? Is it becoming more diverse? What are your thoughts on it changing? Yeah, I think that initiatives like this film, it's going to open eyes to a lot of people in the industry. Definitely
the exposure of diverse winemakers is going to change the game too. So I mean, since this film even got started, you know, the winemakers in the story are getting some exposure, and people coming out and trying their wines. And I think that's what it's going to take. Understanding that it's not just a highbrow industry, like you can enjoy it. You can go to someone's tasting room. They don't have to have the vineyard. You know, I mean, Bertoni's vineyard. You know, they have a vineyard, but it's not beautifully manicured, and you know, it's not miles and miles. You look out over the horizon and twirl your glass. It's not that story, right? But you go out there in his land. You know, you're gonna climb some hills, and you need a machete probably, right? And that's the reality of it for a lot of people who don't have those beautiful landscapes and whatnot. So, but the younger generation, what we're seeing is they're not into just sitting outside where it's quiet, listening to birds and, you know, watching the sunset. You know, they want to have a good time. You know, he mentions that in the documentary, and that's what we see. You know, younger generations want to go in and sit down in the lounge, pour wine and conversate, dance, and eat good food. You know,
sure.
So I think that just the culture, the experiences, it's going to make the difference, and it's going to continue to grow. Yeah, so when I go to a winery, I think it's nice to be able to sit outside and look. That's beautiful, and hopefully you got some good conversation, something good to talk about. But I think getting out and embracing the people, everyone that's around you, and communicating and toasting glass and kind of partying up a little bit is another aspect of it that's really important.
Sure.
That should be acknowledged, and I think that's direction it's taken. I think it's going to be more of that involved. You know, and it'd be nice to just see a really good balance of each. If you want to go have your wine experience, you know, in the limousine and go out wine tasting, which is fun. I just did it Friday. It was hot as hell, but I did it, you know, and it was fun, you know, but it was hot. We were outside burning up, you know, and I more enjoyed being inside, you know, where the music was playing and talking to the people while they pouring my wine, you know, the pourers, and then having fun with the people I'm there with, versus just, you know, leaning over the rail and, you know, oh, this is pretty, you know. It's more about the experience. It's so much about the experience. That's what the wine industry is about. It's about the experience.
And going to Bertoni's winery, obviously at Abbey Creek, you're getting hip hop music, and you got video games, and you got great food, and it's obviously designed very much like you're talking about. Yeah,
he's captivated the culture he want to put out there, you know, and it's like adding seasonings to a great steak. You know, you want to make it better or make it your own, and that's what he's doing. You know, he's bringing up some of his hip hop culture, so you go in and hear good music, and I mean, I was there 2 weeks ago for one of his suppers he do, and they did a luau style. They had a big pig roast, you know, and salad. They had cornbread, croutons for the salad, and yeah, it's very unique. You know, you get in and it felt really Southern in a sense. I'm from the South, but then you go in other time, it's something different. Some different foods to pair with. He's doing barbecue sauces, hot sauces, all kinds of different sauces and whatnot with the food and the pairings. The wineries I've been going to lately, you know, it's like you get some crackers and you might get some chocolate. I didn't even see too many crackers anymore. I don't even know they even doing that anymore. I went to 3 wineries weekend. I'm like, you know, you guys, I had to ask for crackers, you know. So I'm not sure if they cutting back on budget. I can't see why, but it kills the experience though. You know, he's drinking, and I guess if you're hungry, I guess they do pull out like a plate. You can get a meat plate or a cheese plate, you know, for $20.
Not quite the same, no.
Yeah.
So you talked earlier about your next project, you said Journey Between the Vines. Is that what you said it's called?
Yeah.
So tell us about how that came to be and what your plan is.
Yeah. This lady who owns this company called Urban Connoisseurs, she had a podcast that she does about winemakers, black winemakers in general, and she interviewed Bertoni and I, and during the process, she's talking about the book she's making about black winemakers. She wanted to do a national about winemakers nationally, and you know, I'm like, wow, they're winemakers nationally, and she kind of enlightened me on You know, there are vineyards in Virginia, New Jersey area, and some of the history of some of the black winemakers from that. So we're gonna, and this is like all since the Prohibition. So she's done a lot of research on that, and we started shooting back in November, very briefly, and then the project's put on hold for a little bit. We're gonna be picking up here pretty soon, but yeah. So it's gonna be, we've identified, and then something interesting about the wine industry too. It's just about anybody can call themselves a winemaker. I can call myself a winemaker. I got this thing. You can say I can. You know what? There's music artists that can slap a label on a bottle and say I'm a winemaker. You know, and so when we were trying to narrow down the scope of this project, the Journey Between the Vines, Red, White, and Black. When we narrowing down the scope, it's like, okay, there's thousands of winemakers. Like, how do you get to the heart of it? You know, and Bertone is one of the grape to glass type. I call it dirt to glass, but he's actually farming. So it's really about wine farmers, and that's what this one's going to be about. It's going to be about wine farmers, and there's only like maybe 7 that have their own vineyards that's out there growing the grapes, picking them, you know, bottling them, and so, yeah, doing it all. There's only a handful, and so then, you know, it's like, how do you share that? You know, when I say winemaker, how do you make people appreciate that these guys are in the trenches? You know, they're not just slapping their name on the bottle.
Sure. So I know it's early in the process, but do you have an idea in mind for what you would like to portray? What message you're trying to get across with the project?
For Journey Between the Vine, it's the same thing. It's like, I'm gonna do the same process I did with Red, White, and Black. I'm gonna listen to these winemakers' stories and understand their challenges, and make a film that's gonna be real, that the people need to know and hear. You know, it's gonna be about them and their challenges and their struggles, because I feel like people relate to realness. You know, that's why reality shows are so popular. You know, people talk a lot of trash about them, but there was a point in time when reality shows were really reality shows. I mean, now they're kind of toned down and a lot of influences and persuasion that goes along and the way they're produced. But people are drawn to that though. If it feels real, then you know, it's like, hey, I can relate to that. You know, and that's really what I want to do.
Sure. What about other projects? Now that you are, like you say, in the eye of the storm, what else are you planning on doing in the next few years? Do you have any passion projects coming up? Yeah,
well, so we're gearing up to do Tinderbox, which is a feature-length narrative film. I want to do a couple of those, and Tinderbox is a suspense thriller. And at first, I was going to really push that, you know, to go get funding for it, but I realized that I'm not as passionate about it as I thought I was, you know, and I think that through my process of like, hey, I want to do things I'm more passionate about, instead of just raising my hand on every project, you know, I'm realizing I want to find something that's really more in depth. And so Tinderbox is going to be more of an indie-based film, and I'm pretty soon I'm going to go out and push for a campaign to raise some money. I'm not even going to ask for much, so I want to get out there and do it. You know, the script's written really well. We shot a trailer for it, so there's a trailer online on my website at JBJr Productions.com. So there's a trailer for that. We shot that in North Plains and in McMinnville. Through my connections I met through the wine industry. So I got some locations through that. So I'm still looking for my big feature. But Tinderbox is coming next. I've kind of drifted off into TV shows, so I just finished up a TV talk show pilot called Baby Talk. I'm working with this producer out of Atlanta, Georgia on that. So we're on the cusp of going to pitch it now. Trying to understand what platform we want to push it out on and whatnot. And then I told you about my son's YouTube channel. That's going to be some more experimenting. Sure. And getting out there, and I like having him along for the process. So I'm passionate about that for his growth, you know, in the industry. And as an actor, well, I just finished this new TV show they're shooting here. Did a couple cameos in it. It's called Documentary Now. We shot recently. I'm getting more back on I took a break to focus on the film producing, but I'm getting back more into acting now. So I've been trying to clean myself up for that, get headshots, and start back working out and everything, and just trying to get ready to be on screen. We were in a 48-hour film competition this past weekend which was a lot of fun, and just kind of getting my chops back up.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Do you have like a dream project in mind, either as an actor or director? Is there something that's just like, if you had all the money in the world and all the time, you would do this?
Yeah, I mean, if I would love just to direct a blockbuster level feature film, you know, something that's acknowledged. As an actor, I would love to work alongside Denzel. That would kind of be my dream. You know, he's getting older. I'm getting older too, so I can't really talk smack. But I'm just saying, like, you know, I'd love to be like in a film with him, or one of the actors who inspires me as an actor. And there's a few of them too. But yeah, that's my goal. My goal is just to sustain, you know, financially, and to be creative and enjoy life. You know.
Sure. What about in the wine industry? Do you see a future for yourself there? Do you ever plan of owning a winery or being a winemaker or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't know. You know, it's been like floating around very recently. You know, I'm learning more and more about the industry. I made a lot of connections here. And some people reached out to me talking about sharing their stories, you know. And I don't know. We'll see where this goes. You know, it's like everything to me in this industry, the entertainment industry, it's like it comes out of nowhere. You know, it like takes shape on its own. You know, I never would thought I'd have. 3 years ago, I didn't know anything about wine. I got my own wine coming out, and you know, that just goes to show you never know what's going to happen when you're on a creative journey. Motivational speaking. I never thought I'd get paid to go out and be in front of a bunch of people and talk about my life. You know, and people paying me for that now. It's crazy, and I just got contact to go MC some events. Friday night I'm making a celebrity appearance at this fundraiser, Judge and Barbecue. You know, on the 18th I'll be at the Bigfoot Festival, dressed up as Bigfoot. You know, it's like you never know what you get with me. Seriously, I'll be Bigfoot, and I've done it before. Have you ever seen that? The Bigfoot deal. I got hired to go in and be Bigfoot one day for these kids. It's like this initiative to get people to slow down when they're in kid zones, speeding zones, right. and so I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning and spent 4 hours getting makeup put on me. It looks so real too. But anyway, so as I show up, they told me all thing I had to do was go out there and just be Bigfoot. I didn't have to talk to anybody. We pull up and almost every news channel in Portland is outside. Like, he's here, and they open the door and all these kids. Anyway, it went national. It was on national TV. It's in the news all over. And in Oregon, it was a trip. It was a trip. So, I mean, you never know. You never know. It's an amazing ride. It's an amazing ride.
It's a good chance if I go to any event in Oregon, you'll be there in a cameo role somewhere.
You never know. I mean, you never know. I mean, this Bigfoot thing is intriguing to me because, you know, people have called and asked me, hey, and I'm like, hey, it wasn't my outfit, you know, but they've asked me, so I had to kind of partner up with Ravenous Studios, the makeup artist. She does special effect makeup artists, and hey, I got this demand to be here. You know, can you help me out? And, you know, so we got an agreement going, and so now I'm Bigfoot, you know. Swiffer Dad, Bigfoot. You never know what you get.
That's awesome. I'm curious if you met a minority who wanted to be in the wine industry or wanted to own their own winery or something like that. What kind of advice would you give, now, knowing what you know now about a minority joining the Oregon wine industry?
Well, I would tell them actually to watch the Red, White, and Black off the back, and I'd introduce them to the people that's doing it. You know, if you're a minority and whoever you can relate to, if it's a Hispanic kid that comes to me, I bring him out and introduce him to Jesus. You know, if it's a woman, Remy, and there's a lot of women winemakers here, actually. But you know, yeah, I'll take them to, you know, hey, because I'm at that stage now. It's like, hey, come out with me, come meet this guy, come see what they're doing. Sure. That's the best way to do it.
Well, that's all the questions I have for you. Okay, is there anything else you'd like to mention here at the end? Anything I should have asked you? Any last plugs for JBJr Productions.com?
Oh, so anyway, my production company is JBJr Productions, and my focus has been on indie film. It's shifted quite a bit now. I'm doing TV talk shows and reality shows and commercial work. So I'm always looking for good, unique projects, very unique projects that actually inspire people and inspire the community. So if anybody's looking for some advice, you don't have to hire me, but if you just want some input, some thoughts around it, then reach out to me. And you can reach me at JBJr Productions at gmail.com.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for your time, for all your answers and candor, and we'll go ahead and stop it there.